tell the story of all these crazy, when you met me, you either thought I was a liar or a liar.
Welcome to the Dialects of Art series. Here we explore what it means to make art for an audience in a postmodern world. Let's get real with how artists see the world and tell their story. Your hosts are Yori and Dana Seeger, co-creators of the School of Visual Philosophy, where we believe art is a method of communication and a way of looking at the world. If you are an artist or curious about how and why artists create their work, this series is for you. So let's dive right into this episode.
So welcome and thank you guys for coming. This is the second chat for the Dialects of Art, and I'm very excited to invite Mighty Mike McGee. And Mike, for today, I'm going to sort of focus on community or small community and talk about dialects of art and use that as sort of the vehicle to do so. And I'm choosing this theme for you because I'm assuming you guys might know who this guy is. But if you don't, I've known you for a couple of years, and one of the things that I continually find about you is that you manifest community on a small scale, and it's very intimate, and before you know it, it's big. And the community that you travel with, or everywhere you travel, I should say, I feel like you're developing this broad community about you.
And that was my childhood, We didn't have much, but we had each other. And
Perfect life for a poet.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, it was community. Community wasn't everything. Community was only. It was the only. There was no other way.
How was language? So you're talking about your family, and we're going to build this into the broader community that you surround yourself with. So it was sort of put upon you as a child, and you felt that was fantastic, and I think you build that.
Mm-hmm. I think at home, there are no poets in my family. None. Not a single poet in my entire family. There may have been some before I was born, but I don't know of any. It's just not something that became an art form until I came along, I would imagine. So.
Can you tell us a little bit what you consider poetry to be? I think it's a broad term that maybe we can define for our audience.
Poetry is expression of a feeling, a moment, that in your language, whatever the language is that's in your head, right, that makes the most sense to you. If I say to you, concrete, cold, we walk on hearts, well, you all have a different perspective of what the hell that could mean, I just thought of it. It means something to me now, but now it means something to you in a different way. And so that to me is poetry, is that I can say something and it can have, if there's 26 people here, it has 26 different meanings, but we can all come together on it, and that to me is poetry, is that it doesn't have to be direct,
Yeah, I often say that art is a great language to describe the ethereal. So it used to be described mostly, for religion or cultural significance. And that's a good explanation, I think, is we all bring these things to it. We all have our own imagination that we're going to be able to interpolate from and grab from and make it our own. And I think that when your audience is able to make the experience that the artist gives their own and take that with them, it becomes a very powerful moment. And that transaction between artist and storyteller and audience and participant becomes rather intimate and very special.
And I started out in performance poetry, So for me, it was up until the mid 90s, after high school, I thought poetry was so boring, because I hadn't been exposed to anything that spoke to me, at least as vividly as performance poetry did. And it was through performance poetry that I found written poetry to be more exciting. Because you have to study it. You really do have to study it like you would any other art form.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't just read one poem and go, okay, I totally get poetry now. Or this makes sense to me and I love it. No one loves it right away. It might be evocative, it might draw you in, but it's not necessarily going to win you over until you've experienced a little bit more of it. And it wasn't until I saw poets performing their words out loud, just their voices, that it finally, I went, oh, I didn't know poetry could be like that. That's awesome.
Captivating.
Very, incredibly.
You're very good too with your cadence and your ability to look at people and engage. I think that's one of the powers that you have.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to watch. It's fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I spent a lot of money. I met the devil at the crossroads, and I was like, yo, I need a talent. He goes, all I got left is performance poetry, buddy. I was like, all right, fine.
Take what I can get.
Yeah, I'll take what I can get. Yeah. So, no, and that was the thing. Like, that's kind of the beauty of performance poetry, is that it's like stand-up comedy or music. I can work on it in private by myself. It can be collaborative, but it's very rarely. Poetry is very rarely collaborative. It's a very solo venture.
I find a lot of fine art to be very similar.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've built up, I think we've given our audience a who and a why and a how. And what about now? So what is that experience? So when you're up there and you're giving this experience to an audience, what is that like? Viewing the world through that lens of a poet and being able to engage. Tell me more about that, and tell me, if we can try to bring into the idea of the dialect, and what is special to your method or your dialect that is Mighty Mike McGee.
I really so as a kid, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian and an actor, and I wanted, and then for a long time, I wanted to be a priest.
And one of those.
Yeah, and I realized I couldn't do all of them, right? But then I found performance poetry and realized, no, I can, I still get a congregation that doesn't just meet on Sundays, and I don't have to carry a Bible,
And I'm adding in, you build the community.
Right.
That's a really big thing, yeah.
And then the sacredness is just the word and the exchange, the interaction. So for me, when I'm on stage, my goal is to say, I have these feelings in my heart. I am not just a hairy mountain man who loves burritos. There's so much to me. There's a complexity. There's a lot going on, and I have feelings, and I love to cry and to laugh and to eat and to love. And so realizing through my family, through my friends, that there's these shared things between us. It's my goal to find out if I can share that with even more people, if I can make that connection. So I get to take a code, right, that I create, right, and I create a code that becomes a poem, right, and then I say it out loud to a room full of people, and then at the end of that, my performance, during and after, I'll get somebody that comes up to me and says, wow, you know, and what they're saying to me is, I totally broke your code.
Thank you.
I get it now. Thank you, you know. And so for me, standing up in front of a room full of people and performing a poem is it's me trying as best as I can to talk directly to their heart, you know, and say, hey, I love you. I love you. And we are so messed up and ruined, you know, but are we though, you know? And so it's just this constant, it's a conversation with the whole room, you know? And I clearly love talking to people. I love it.
That's why people keep coming back.
Yeah.
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 It's obvious, and it shows. Every time you have an artist who loves what they do and has studied it and continues to make that effort and that practice and grow as they do, it's obvious.
Yeah, I agree. And we're lucky. San Jose is very lucky to have all the artists that we have, you know, and more are coming, you know. They're being born now. They're being taught now. They're studying now, you know. I love it. I've lived in other places and I don't want to be anywhere else, you know.